You are Locked Onn Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked Onn Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked Onn Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you for making Locked Onn Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. Mike G, C-Dub. How we doing, guys?
We're here.
Lost to South Carolina, Zach. I think you know the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's not very good. That's not a very good thing. But guys, I think the way we lead this thing off, how's Auburn beating Alabama this Saturday? Take us through what you think that looks like. Nothing. Yeah. Silence from both of you.
We beat Bama by Bama not showing up. That's one way you could do it.
Okay.
Another way you do it, here's the thing. I just want to see this team play a full 4 quarters. That, like, I think regardless of outcome, I think that's something that we've yet to see Auburn do. Mm-hmm. I just want to see them. We've seen them. They can play amazing for a half.
Right.
We got that down. We figured that part out. But I want to see us finish a game, right? And see, to me, that's going to be, regardless of the outcome of what happened this weekend, I just want to see us play well in the second half, actually adjust and compete with a team that's fighting to win the game as well. I just want to see us just do that. We do that, I will feel a lot better about where we are as a program going into the close of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the issue. I think that's a good way to put it. You know, can Auburn put together a game plan that lasts all 4 quarters? Or you put together a game plan and maybe it works through the script, and then you've got to start calling plays and adjusting as the game goes on. We have not, Mike G, we have not seen that over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been tough. Consistency, you've heard Coach talk about it in some of these post-game pressers. Consistency has been an issue.
Yeah.
But I don't think that consistency is limited to players. I think it's an extension of coaching as well too. There's a lot to play for in this Iron Bowl, even though we're not technically playing for the SEC West or the SEC Championship. Pride is on the line, but also people are going to be fighting for jobs, right? I asked him,
coaches and players,
both.
Yeah,
both. If you get embarrassed, there will be pink slips handed out on Sunday. I believe that. There's just a lot to play for there that if you're, some players, Zach, are born with the golden ticket and they get 100 chances to prove they can be the guy. Some players only are going to get a few chances. That's just life. That's football. Right. And so I think over the next couple of weeks, Iron Bowl and bowl game, you're going to see some of those players get their chance to prove that they can be the guy at Auburn University, and they just got to take advantage of it. So there's definitely a lot for individuals and team to play for.
Right. So I'm just curious what kind of game plan they're putting together. I mean, that he has been working on this game plan all season. This is not something where they got done with South Carolina and he started looking at Alabama. So I can't wait to see, when his back is against the wall, what Harsin does. I think there's a chance we see a different Bryan Harsin, because this seems like the kind of dude, just his personality trait of, okay, the seat is hot. Not as far as he's going to be let go by any stretch of the imagination, but like it's heating up a little bit as far as just everything happening around the program right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's just I'm curious to see, because the wrench in that plan that you've been constructing since you've gotten here is the fact that your QB1 isn't in the picture. Mm-hmm. So how different does that look with a different quarterback? Probably doesn't look different at all. We saw against South Carolina, they still tried to achieve this balance that, in my opinion, wasn't even necessary. So I'm obviously that balance is probably a part of that plan. I'm just curious how they plan on attacking Bama based on what they've seen. Do they stick to that? I'm curious to see that. I don't know. I just don't know. And that's what worried me. It was funny, Zach. A week ago, about this time, I felt really good about South Carolina.
Sure, me too.
And somewhere around noon on Saturday, I really started thinking, what am I going to see Friday night in Columbia? What Auburn team shows up? Whether it's coaches, players, like what am I going to see? And I wasn't sure. And that worried me. And obviously we know how that game ended.
Right.
So the thing about this Auburn team is that after 11 games, we really don't know what kind of team we are. And I think that's what's really concerning and kind of disappointing is we expected to see a team that was riding on a lot of momentum out of the month of October coming into November, and it's been like a free fall. Right. So what kind of team you want to think that they're going to get up? Players and coaches alike are going to get up for this game, and they should get up for this game. The issue has been when they get hit in the mouth and when they face adversity, what kind of team are they then? Mm-hmm. And against Alabama, there's going to be opportunities for them to get hit in the mouth because, albeit it's a down year for Bama, they're still Bama.
They're still very good. Yeah.
I want to see how this team responds when their backs are against the wall or when they find themselves in adversity. How do they respond in terms of coaching decisions, in terms of the players trusting these coaches to put them in situations to win?
Yeah. And you mentioned, like, we don't know who this team is still. I said this, I think it was on the show. If not, it was on doing a radio hit somewhere else, but just talking about how, okay, we have, limited time left in the season and this Auburn offense still has no identity whatsoever. And then obviously you mentioned the wrench that gets thrown into all this. Bo Nix goes down, but still, even before that, there was no offensive identity whatsoever. And that's not a good thing, especially when your coach is an offensive-minded coach. I mean, say what you want about Gus, and his offense, did not evolve or adapt, but it still had an identity. I mean, it was still a run first. He wanted to run it. I don't really know what this Auburn offense wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, balance for the sake of balance just doesn't seem like it's worked, right? And going all the way back to Penn State, you think about it, there was a feeling that we just didn't run the ball as much as we should have in that game. Yeah. And it was effective. They never stopped it in that game, but we achieved the balance, but we lost the game because we were better at running than we were at passing in that game. And we should have just run it more. Mm-hmm. So the balance didn't help us. I felt the same way against South Carolina. We could have leaned into the run a bit more, and given some carries. I mean, Tank toted the rock 22 times, so that's not a small amount of carries, but only 4 carries for Jarquez Hunter.
That's it. It's not about Tank. It's the 30-plus targets. Yeah, and it's like you didn't give any of those to the other backs.
To the other 2 backs, right? Yeah. So, just a few more carries for those guys and a few less throws down the field for TJ Finley, because I to me, it was just apparent he was a little too juiced up and his down the field ball was off, and some of those receivers were open. Now, he owned that, and he said, I missed some opportunities to get the ball in the end zone, but I'm coming back to coaching, settling him down and saying, hey, I mean, we knew it. When Bo was in, we know him throwing 10 times down the field is not a winning formula. Mm-hmm. But when he had 5 or fewer throws and we leaned into the run a little bit more, we did a lot better as a team, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same thing is true for TJ Finley. It just is a symptom maybe of this offense. We were missing our best wide receiver. So it might have been prudent to lean into the run just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I know Shed had a great game, but at the end of the day, you were down one very important weapon. So that's why I say it's not just execution, and that's why I was hoping he was not going to say in this post game, right? Like he's execution dust to death. Now it's like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to me that if you would have told me going into any game this year that Tank would have his best game of the season and Shedrick Jackson would have his best game of the season, that you would lose. Like, that doesn't compute in my brain how that's a possible thing, but it happened. We all watched it.
Yeah, listen, the second half woes, so that we're all clear, go all the way back to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
The second half of Ole Miss, we did nothing. And then the second half of every game after that.
Ole Miss the storyline coming out of that game was how good the defense was in the second half. That's what we were talking about. It's like, man,
Right.
Auburn shut them down. So we weren't paying attention to it. But yeah, you're right. It happened.
And it was the first time it happened. So we thought it was an aberration instead of something that was starting a trend.
That's fair.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, again, it goes all the way back to that game, and it's been
and it's you beating a top 12 team, whatever they were at the time. Like, it doesn't matter. Just get that win.
Yeah.
Right.
We did nothing after the half in that game, and then it popped up again, with Texas A&M, and now even against a team that we clearly should have been better at, you had the same issues. To me, that's coaching.
Yeah.
Right. That's a coaching issue, and that's where I hope that our coaches are a little introspective and they look on the inside about whatever how they can set these players up to deliver the execution that they keep talking about in every post-game press conference. So, coaches are humans too, man. They make mistakes. They've got to figure it out. And unfortunately, the Iron Bowl is one of those games where not a lot will be forgiven for losing it badly.
Right.
So they've got to find a way to go out here and be competitive on Saturday. It's funny that we don't have much hope against what is really one of the most beatable Bama teams.
It's poor timing.
Yeah, in the last few years. Listen, this Florida played this Bama team to a 2-point win. Right? We saw LSU play them to a 6-point win. They're gettable. They lost it. Arkansas
lost by 7.
Yeah, they lost to Texas A&M. Like this team is gettable this year. So if they can put together a game plan that leans into our strengths, to everybody's strengths, right? On offense, and unfortunately for us on defense, I don't think it matters. Bryce Young he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country under pressure, if not the best. We're going to have to score points to win this game. Period.
Right.
If you sit back, he's going to carve you up. If you go after him, all the advanced metrics say that he's going to find the open guy. He's great on the move, and they've got great wide receivers. So, it's going to have to stay close. We're going to have to score points. It's not going to be a low scoring affair, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing about him too is that what I've been impressed early on, and some of the guys have pointed it out when we've been chatting each other while watching Bama games or other games, is his composure. He doesn't seem to get rattled easily. So even bringing pressure or doing all of that, he stays in the pocket and waits to find the guy as they get open. So that, based on what we know to be true about our defense and pass defense or pass coverage, is scary. So yes, to Mike's point, we're gonna have to score at least 30 to have a shot in this game, in my opinion.
Sure, absolutely. Hey, it's a War Rapport Wednesday. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I love daily college fantasy sports. I know you will too. Prize Picks is a leader in college sports daily fantasy. A ton of props for you to pick one way or the other. Or, of course, they also just have fantasy score, total fantasy score. If you think, TJ Finley will score more fantasy points than what Prize Picks is predicting, put some money on the line. And so go to prizepicks.com or download their very easy to use app. Just search Prize Picks in your phone's app store and use promo code Locked On to get a 100% match up to $100. Just be sure to use promo code Locked On. That's at prizepicks.com. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. Mike G, C-Dub, what's going on these days at the War Rapport?
Well, we're winding down the season here, Zach. It is Iron Bowl time, so
it's already over.
Yeah, it's sad but true. It went so fast. We're starting to transition to basketball content.
Right.
So we'll be covering basketball as well as all your off-season football news. This will be an eventful off-season.
Yeah.
So stay plugged into the War Rapport, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're everywhere. Just search us. We're there.
Awesome. No, you guys do a great job. So let's keep talking about the best case scenario for Auburn this Saturday, because to me, if Auburn can get their pass defense right, I think they have a chance. It's just, can guys outside of Roger McCreary do it? And I don't know if they can.
Yeah. Okay, Zach. So hear me out.
Okay.
I hear you. I personally don't. I think what you're talking about is an impossibility.
It may be.
I think there's exactly zero chance we're going to stop their passing game.
We are who we are at this point.
Yeah,
No, I get it. I get it.
They're going to have to make mistakes, and we're going to have to capitalize on it.
Right.
You can't force Bryce Young into a mistake or two, but we've had so many almost interceptions this year. This would be the game that it's not an almost, you come up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, almost every quarterback we faced has thrown balls right at us that we have just not caught.
Right,
so,
right.
If, there was one that Smoke had versus
Mississippi State.
Will Rogers. If he catches it, it's a pick. He's to the house. Right. And he missed it. And that was an opportunity to change the complexion of that game. So we're going to have to capitalize on turnovers if we can get any. And then offensively, everybody's going to have their best game. So, TJ Finley, if there's any chance he's going to be the starting quarterback at Auburn beyond bowl game, this is one you got to go get. And not necessarily win, but he has to play well. He has to play well. Like I said it earlier, like some guys get a million chances. Some guys only get one shot. Like I feel like at Auburn University, this is his shot to prove that he can be the guy. And on the biggest stage against the highest rated team we're going to see down the stretch here.
So that's an interesting thought. And I really haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about it till you said that. But like, what does TJ Finley have to do to keep the job going into next year?
The 300 yards and a few TDs in this one. We can't be in the post game.
I still think Bo starts next year, though, if that happens.
Yeah, listen.
You're probably not wrong.
You're probably not wrong.
But my thing is, TJ has an opportunity to be a part of the discussion, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Instead of us leaving the Iron Bowl saying, well, he had a shot. It's Bo. It's Bo or bust, right? So I think for him, he's going to have to actually expose Bama in pass coverage. He's going to actually have to look good doing it. He's not going to run all over the field. So he's going to have to actually, and I'm not saying he's got to put up 300 yards, but what he has to be efficient with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He actually has to be accurate. And I liked his intermediate throws against South Carolina. Once he got in the rhythm and settled down, he threw the ball well. But if he's able to take advantage of that and carve Bama up, he has an opportunity to give this coaching staff something to think about. Yeah. And I think for him and for his sake, that's the most you can ask for.
Yeah, I'm saying that he does have to throw for 300 yards. I think this coaching staff has shown you that. I mean, they sent Bo Nix back out on a broken ankle before they let him get in the game. He's got to play well. This is do or die. They've already shown him this season over and over again that there's almost nothing he can do short of almost losing to Georgia State to take this job. So now that injury has happened, I think this is your shot to really stick a nail in it and give them something to think about in the greatest rivalry in college football on the biggest stage on national television. This is your shot. If you could do it on this stage, you could do it on any stage.
If we get down in this game, we've seen trends with Auburn, and we know if we're throwing the ball more than we're running it, we should be worried. So depending on how this game goes, and again, we know Bobo likes to go for a balanced offense.
Mm-hmm.
To Mike G's point, I don't feel like he has to, but Bobo is probably going to call a game in which he gives Finley the opportunity to throw for 300 yards. So if he is efficient throwing the ball and he's actually able to take advantage of Bama's pass defense, yes, the 300 yards will be there, because I don't see us leaning heavily on one side of the ball either way, unless we're losing and then we're leaning towards the pass, which does create opportunities for Finley to throw for 300 yards.
Yeah, I still think, Zach, 40 pass attempts, no matter who the quarterback is, for this team is a losing proposition.
That's a lot.
You don't think we throw for that many in this game?
Yeah, well, I think that that's why I don't like us to win. That's why I don't like us to win. I mean, we have not won. We won one game this year where we had more than 30 pass attempts.
Was it Ole Miss?
It was Georgia State.
It was Georgia State.
Right, and that was combined between
both of them.
Both quarterbacks. But generally we've been 30 passes or less in the wins that we've had. And I could be wrong. I think LSU, maybe we had more than 30 passes. But it's just not. It's not the trend says less than 30. Right.
No, that's not how the roster's built.
Yeah, at a high clip.
Built to run the ball. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, less than 30 at a high clip gets you to the promised land with Auburn. So the way Bama scores sometimes, if you get down, again, staying under 30 throws may become an impossibility. So Harsin said something. I do want to point this out. During a press conference early in the year, I had asked about balance. It seemed like, he talked about being balanced. And then we noticed, hey, coach, you're ending with like 12, 13, 14 more pass attempts than rush attempts. How do you get back to that balance that you talked about earlier in the year? And he said, listen, we can't get down. So we went and we looked at that every first quarter. And he was right. In every first quarter this year, we have been almost perfectly balanced. And it's not until we get behind that they start throwing the ball all over the place. Right. So for whatever reason, they feel like the wheels are falling off the wagon and we have to throw to catch up. We lose that balance. But it's happened so many times this year. I can't believe this is going to be the game where that doesn't happen. Right. I think it's more likely.
Yeah. I want to talk about that more in just a second. Hey, today's show brought to you by betonline.ag. It's the holidays and it's time to watch football and spend time with family and eat great food and play sports bets. And BetOnline remains the number one spot for all your sports action this holiday season. Head over to betonline.ag, use promo code Locked On. You'll receive a 50% welcome bonus with that promo code on your first deposit. BetOnline, they are stuffed with deals this Thanksgiving. Also, Built Bar is the official protein bar of the Locked On Podcast Network. It looks and tastes like a candy bar, very high in protein. It tastes delicious. They're all covered 100% in pure, delicious chocolate. But yeah, high in protein, low in calories, low in sugar. Check them out. Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off. That's at Built.com. Yeah, you guys mentioning, all of that. To me, it's not really the scheme of it. It's the flow of the game that they're losing control on. I think the game plan is fine. It's just the execution of it throughout the 60 minutes where it's like we're getting away from what we wanted to do in this game. It just seems like the flow of it gets away from them. You know what I mean?
Bryan Harsin, is that you? Sorry, I thought you turned into Bryan Harsin there for a second. I don't disagree. The way they're calling the game, it is execution. But do I think that's the only way they could call it? No, right? So it just kind of depends, man. They're doing some things. So,
yeah. I just think too. Also, you have to the other team that we play has a coaching staff as well. They have guys on that team who've been coaching for years.
Sure.
Right. So what we're doing against teams, even though we have guys executing, it's not the first time those guys have seen things like that. Mm-hmm. So what happens is as the game goes on and you run towards the end of your script, those plays aren't coming as easy because those guys know what's coming now. So my thing is what are you going to do? You have to anticipate, okay, here's how they plan to stop our game plan. And here's what we're going to do then. Right. And you have weeks of film where this has happened to us, starting with Ole Miss. So from the players executing to the coaches anticipating what the other team will do as we attack them, you have to, the game plan has to be cumulative and account for those types of situations, because we have to give the opposing teams credit. Mm-hmm. They just adjusted to what we've done. Right. And so it makes it more challenging to execute when the other team knows what you're doing. And let's be clear, on the running game and passing game, we haven't done either of those well to where teams know what we're going to do. And we're saying, hey, we're still going to do it whether you know it's coming or not.
Right.
So how the coaches account for that in this game is going to tell the story, in my opinion.
Caesar, what are folks missing out on if they are not tuned into the War Rapport this time of year?
We're doing film review. We probably got the last one of the season coming. We're actually going to do a few cool things with film review in the off season. Cool. We got a lot of cool treats for the insiders as well. So you definitely want to become an insider with us. The game day experience, You get an opportunity to interact with like-minded people, talk to us as we either celebrate or drown in our misery, depending on how the game turns out through halftime and post-game. So we have a big community of people who just love Auburn football, want to talk football, and we create that environment through our game day experiences as well as our live show. So you definitely want to head over there and interact with a large community of Auburn fans.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk again next week.
Exactly.
Thanks.
This has been Locked On Auburn.